everybody, welcome to my fabulous Las Vegas home. Sorry, I've been a go-go dancer on the Las Vegas Strip for 7 years, so I may have overdeveloped my promotional skills a little bit. Sorry about that. But still, I am here to invite you into my condo to talk about Kundalini awakening. Woo! What the hell is that, right? Awesome. I didn't know either, but it happened to me. So we're going to learn this on the fly, right by the seat of our pants, the way I love doing life. Well, first we have to meet Scrappy. This is my little glitter boy. He has joined me on all my journeys. Can you say mwah? Can you say mwah? Mwah. He has been on this ride with me for 7 years, and the last 2 years, it's been 2 years of priming, and then it's been 15 months of official Kundalini pop-off. So he's been with me on the journey the whole way, huh, little man? Okay. All right, so I'm going to be using this wall as my basis of kind of explaining everything, and actually this wall and what I created on it was part of what led to my awakening. Down here we have all my journals. Writing became a very important thing. Half of these were written throughout my life, and half of the journals here were written through the past 3 years. It's been a long journey, my friends, very long. Incredible. Crazier and bigger and more bittersweet and overwhelming than I ever imagined it could be. So, let's get right down to it as far as the wall and what happened. Right in the middle of the wall here it says, rule all the houses, lead only with spirit. By all the houses, I meant mind, body, soul, four corners of the wall, and soul and heart. So, what I meant by that when I created this was that the tools that we have as a human being are our mind, our bodies, and our hearts. And those are tools. And so we never want to lose sight of the fact that those are just our earth tools. But what should lead is the spirit. When I wrote this, and when I created most of the wall, I didn't know exactly yet what in the world that could mean. It's only through this journey that I've been learning more. So, 2 years ago, it's 3 years ago, I began writing a book called No Soul to Sell. It was about a lady whose emotional repression and circumstances in life caused her to have a physical mutation. So she represses her emotions for so long that one day a circumstance leads her to just bust out of her skin, her bones pop out of her flesh, her veins stick out everywhere, she seeps this slimy residue, this slimy alien residue, and she commits a very violent act. While writing that book, I went deeply, I gave my mind permission to explore deeply the elements of what I call the destroyer and the healer. There are two big characters in the book that I gave myself permission to feel all the emotions of, and that is the destroyer, which was originally the lady who becomes a mutant, and then there's a healer in the story. So, on the left side of the wall, I pretty much built these very, what we would call lower chakra words and energies, which is just this very primal, lusty, fierce energy. And a lot of times in our life, what that tends to represent is feelings of competition, jealousy, fear, lack, inadequacy, control over one another. And in writing the book, I explored how does a person go from these qualities to the more transcendent qualities of a heart that is conditioned to be bigger than the pain, of purpose, connection, love, peace, forgiveness, understanding. And I started asking the universe really transparently, how do we go from these qualities to this? And what journey does a person go on? And does it take this to get to here? And what I realized during this journey is something very important. Not only that we are able to transcend this, but that it is okay and perfectly, beautifully masterminded that we were this mutation, this monster, before we became this. And in order to ever really speak on behalf of what it is to become this, we had to have the qualifications of knowing why it is we have these mechanisms for repression, for addiction, for limitation, for trying to get rid of our pain. We've all been through experiences that seemed overwhelming to us at the time. But the question is, who gets to speak on behalf of these things if they haven't first been here? And that's where a Kundalini awakening is really awesome, because it is first-hand experience. It's not conceptualized, it's not theoretical. I could not have ever imagined with my mental construct the wild journey that I've been on. So it isn't book knowledge, although the people that have gone before us in any sort of spiritual awakening, in anything in life, are essential to our growth. It kind of helps put the mind to sleep. So it puts the mind at ease for you to go ahead and have the bravery to move forward with your own unique blueprint, your own journey. Okay, so as I was developing this mutant character for the book, I noticed these feelings start to manifest in my own being. So the primal, primitive, lower chakra energy of lust and possessiveness and anger and jealousy and this ferocity, I felt it kind of rising. And so at that point I started developing the wall, and that's why this says here, what does a sex-crazed diabolical mutant have to do with emotional health? And I knew that it was my job to unify those forces and figure out exactly what does these feelings rising in my body have to do with the wish that I cast out into the universe before starting to write the book, which was connection and love and forgiveness and feeling very close to my human brethren, and like we're teammates and we're in this together and we're creating this beautiful masterpiece. Why, when I asked the universe for those components, did I get horniness? That's basically, essentially what it felt like. And I just thought, like, okay, somebody seriously must have like mixed up my order. Like, universe, what just happened here? I asked for these transcendent qualities at the age of 32. I began to develop this book, and you return it with horniness. And so I'm sitting here thinking, like, okay, we need to deliver this another way because something must have got messed up. So anyways, I was writing the book. I felt these feelings within me, this ferocity start to rise. And what I was actually going through, I'm not going to keep you guys in suspense. I had to stay in suspense, but I'm going to tell you what it was. It was a sexual heating. It was a sexual priming for the body to get ready to unify with the vibration of the Kundalini awakening. When the Kundalini does awaken from the base of the spine, it is a shock to the nervous system. It moves its way up the chakras from the root, the sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. And it begins to clear out anything that is not serving our highest good. The body, the organism itself, has got to be prepared to handle that. The nervous system has to be prepared to handle that vibration. And sexual heating is the best way to do it. Also, in life, we know that making love, having sex in almost all creation is a union. New life begins with a union. So I was it was doing that just for the science, for the physiological aspect of the organism to get ready, and also to unify these forces and to get grounded. So I think about the lower chakra system as a big, powerful engine that hasn't been started in a long time. And it starts boom, 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 and it starts really rough, and then maybe it'll spin out and sputter, and then boom, 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 it starts again. And eventually the engine gets going, everything starts running more smoothly, and it becomes more refined the higher up the chakra system it goes. So that's why we have written here raw power to refined pure potential. So when an organism gets ready to make a big change, such as a Kundalini transformation, it has to believe itself to be on the right path. It has to have trust and faith and know that it belongs on this planet, and it needs to get ready to make big, bold moves for itself, because it's usually exactly what it says, a huge change, a huge transformation. That changes everything from our relationships, our jobs, with our partners, with our parents, our talents, our skills. It changes so many things about us, and finally, it changes our actual physical body in ways that you would not believe that I'm going to start to talk about. So I did start to catch on that there was a unification here, and that my job was to figure out, why do these intersect? And the character in the book, I noticed, the healer in the book, was very good at being okay with other people's mutations. So he always seemed to have this air about him that was like, it's okay, it's going to be fine. And of course the mutated character is going, how can this be fine? I'm turning into a monster! And he somehow knew. Well, how would he know? Experience. He's been there. So through the sexual priming for me, the sexual healing of the body, took 2 years. That's what was going on. It was confusing and uprooting for my life, because you're not quite sure why it's happening. But as these things are going on, you're also developing a trust and a faith, and you're feeling the Kundalini already start to rise, and the vibrational level of the body is changing, and you can feel, in the churches, you see certain movements that the people are always doing when they start to worship and praise, because their vibration is actually rising to meet something higher than themselves. They're losing part of that ego, they're coming out of that. And so that'll be the next point of this conversation. We'll take a little break. Okay, we're back to talk some more about Kundalini awakening. My little boy is wondering why I am talking so long without acknowledging his presence, because he's used to me including him in everything. The only bad thing you can do to him is not include him. That's why he's the same color as I am. Anyways, so while I was developing these characters for the book, I was walking, Scrappy, a lot. I was dancing. I'm a go-go dancer in the casinos on the Strip. And I was writing, journaling, and writing the characters for the book. And it started to occur to me that just as I was molding these characters for the book, there was a force molding me that was putting pressure and experiences on me in certain areas of my life, certain experiences, to get a certain molding out of this human creation. And I started to realize, if you just submit to those experiences and that pressure, will you become the molding of that great clay potter? And what happened while I was reaching those, what I was doing was actually reaching a meditative state. During the walking, the dancing, and the writing, and the journaling, I was basically in a meditative state, a big portion of my life. And when we reach that state of quiet mind, where we surrender the control of the mental construct and we throw our trust upon a force that is greater than us, that is massive and overwhelming beyond what we can even imagine with our minds, the ego mechanism starts to unravel. And that can be a terrifying, wild, crazy, awesome, spectacular ride of your freaking life. So as I started to realize and submit to the fact that I was a creation myself, and that whoever's running this show, whatever it is, must be a genius, must be a mastermind, because
Even this organism that we are walking around in, we do not know how to keep our own heart beating, our own digestive system going. We are not the controllers, something else is. So as I started to throw more trust and faith upon this force, the ego mechanism started to go quiet. And actually, it usually doesn't go easily because the mind wants to continue existing. That's the tool of the mind. Survival is its biggest concern. And that's why the mind is not capable of going past survival. It doesn't get to thrive. It usually only gets to survive. Its main concern is its own existence. And that's the way it was structured. But there is something bigger than that. So, what happened in these states is the energy continued to rise. And while I was journaling, I started writing things faster than the mind was going, and I started writing things I didn't understand, just as I started making a wall and writing a book that I didn't fully understand. So the words transformation, the words mutation, and the words half-breed kept coming up in my journaling. Half-breed meaning part human, part divinity. And so I remember just the mind was going, wow, you're taking this character for the book like really seriously. You're not a freaking star who can just immerse your whole life and like be all out there in the clouds in the universe and not come back down to earth and hello, join us here on earth. So I thought it was really weird, all the things that were happening to me. Okay, so in addition to those words that were coming out repeatedly in my journaling, the mind kept going, okay, yeah, everybody transforms. I guess you're going through this big thing, whatever, you know. You're getting older, you're trying to decide what to do with your life. Okay, transformation, mutation, woohoo, yeah. And I kept thinking, there's no such thing as human transformation. So why are you writing this repeatedly and going in more depth and more insights about this transformation? Well, eventually the journaling and different aspects of my life started to say, destroy. And the interesting part is that I was captivated by it. I was scared of it, yes, but I was also very excited. And what I eventually realized is that I was destroying the ego mechanism. When you throw your faith and your trust and your surrender upon something else, who you think you are, the Angela that I am in this life that keeps me together, where I'm from, my relationships, my job, my talents, those things start to unravel as you reach this quiet state of mind. So I got really intense journaling one day that was getting more in detail about destruction. Within a week, my phone that I had had for years dropped off of a sink, gone. Everything gone, pictures, text messages, the whole thing. The screen never even showed up. It wasn't broken, it was just gone. A week later, I made a prayer at the movie theater, and I said, the force that be, God, I surrender to any and everything that leads me to become the creation of my highest good. And within 15 minutes, I was in a car accident, and I totaled my car as we were leaving the movie theater. So I was with my partner in the car, and when I realized that everything was okay, I just started crying, just bawling, and I said, I'm so scared, I'm so scared, I'm so scared. He said, it's okay, everything's fine, you don't need to be scared. I said, no, I'm so scared to become the next level of leadership or love or connection or whatever. And I still didn't know what I was so scared of. And I said, I'm so scared, I'm so scared. And of course the mind said, you can't even drive a car right. It was my fault. So why do you think you can become the next being of your highest good if you can't even prevent from getting in a car accident? I went home, I injured my ankle, I was off work for a month, and I began writing in my journal, and it said, you are not regressing, you are releasing. So when I thought, oh my God, all this journaling that I've done to build myself up and say, it's okay, it's safe to go on this crazy journey of life, and trust that life has your back, and you're qualified to work with divinity in a relationship side by side. And then I said, I'm so scared, I'm so stupid, I can't even drive a car. In my journaling it said, you are not regressing, you are releasing, you're not going backwards.
Eventually, at some point when I reached a quiet state of mind, I was going up in a Kriya state, actually, which I will describe. I was saying, pain come up, pain come out. Pain come up, pain come out. And I was saying it like a child. Pain come up, pain go out. Pain come up, pain go out. Meaning that in order for us to release our pain, we have to let it go. We have to feel it. We have to allow it. And then it's okay for us to become the observer, the spectator, the watcher. Something is watching as this organism is going through what it is. So that means something else is leading us. Now, we know in life that there's a progression from a toddler to an adolescent to an adult. Most of us have not acknowledged that there is a stage of development in human development after adulthood. When the brain becomes fully myelated at approximately the age of 27, there is an opportunity for us to have a Kundalini transformation. It's an energetic awakening, I call it. Some people call it a spiritual awakening. I am not as likely to call it spiritual because then people attribute it to religion, and then they get very attached to which force it is driving. Okay, I believe that the force driving us transcends language. We came here, we made language, we made the rules of it, but what's really running the show clearly is so big and powerful, and it has such strong intent that it is beyond what we can describe, and that's okay. Violence, wars, possession, anger has resulted from people becoming so attached to their spirituality that they actually kill one another over their beliefs. So I have no interest whatsoever in attaching to what it is, but I trust it more than anything. I'm going to go on a little tangent here. Speaking of, I'm going to bring Scrappy into this, actually. So when I first adopted Scrappy from the shelter 7 years ago, I remember taking him home and seeing he was a very smart animal. And I saw how much he trusted me. And I thought, my goodness, what does this trust afford this little dog? And what it did was afford him freedom and expansion. So he came with me because he was such a good boy. You're a good boy, aren't you? Yes. Because he was such a good boy, he came with me in stores. I got a little front pack that I carry him on. We went Mount Zion, Angel's Landing. He goes rollerblading with me. He goes biking. He does all kinds of stuff. He meets a lot of people. And what I realized is that his trust afforded him expansion and a bigger life. He doesn't have a mind that's more powerful than us. His mind tool is quite small. But he trusts his life to me, and it allowed him to have a bigger, bolder, freer life, totally surrendered. And I thought, if I throw my life upon the force that created me, what will it afford me? And what did I find out? Fun! Greater experiences! Right, baby boy? I love you. Mwah. Kiss? Mwah. Yeah. Mwah. Anyways, I'll put him down. And alrighty, so we're back. So I had left off approximately after I had gotten in a car accident. So my phone and my car got destroyed after me writing a lot of journaling about destruction within a week. I was off of work for a month with a fractured ankle, and during that time I felt even more that something wanted, the things that I wanted to express, my feelings, felt like it was too big to be housed in my skin. So I literally started feeling like the mutant that I was describing. And again, thinking, wow, I'm really going crazy, but at the same time still throwing the ego structure off long enough to like get in sync with whatever this mesmerizing, enticing new energy field was. So I was off work for about a month on November 4th. Yes, November 4th, 2016, so a year and 5 months ago or something like that. I'm not good with dates. I was incredibly tired for about a week leading up to that. I felt this huge ache go across the lower back, like just this like this feeling just like spread across it. And I'm used to physical injury. I know what it feels like. And I thought, and my brain, not my brain, but something said, this is not physical, it's spiritual. And I go, what kind of spiritual process spreads across your lower back like that? So then I was incredibly tired for an entire week, so ungodly tired. And on Friday, November 4th, I got up out of bed. Something said, go to your yoga mat, that purple yoga mat. It's very old now. I get attached to only my things that I am sentimental about. So I went to my yoga mat. Something said, go in down dog. I went in down dog. In my head, started going like this. Very fast. I'm not going to do the whole thing. From then, I stood up. I started moving around. I started spinning. I started walking around. Forward circles, backward circles. This kind of movement, which I never knew how to do, whatever this is, before I had Kriyas. So that went on for 2 hours. I was not scared at any point. I had not heard of Kundalini. I did not know what Kundalini was. But a couple months prior to this experience, I was reading something on the dark night of the soul. And in it, it had mentioned a Kundalini Kriya. And it seemed to be about yoga and meditation. All I was concerned about was the dark night of the soul, because I was also having feelings of despair and hopelessness that was beyond my circumstances in life. I just felt so hopeless. And I'll talk more about the dark night of the soul in another video. But I've definitely gone through several of them and several what's called die-offs as well. Okay, so in the next week or so, I had a lot of Kriyas. I was not scared at any point. I looked back to, okay, so when I was reading about the dark night of the soul, I'm going to say her name, Betsy Raber, and she wrote the book Our Light Body. I found it on the internet, ourlightbody.com by Betsy Raber. I was reading the section only about the dark night of the soul, and I saw Kundalini Kriyas, and it said that when you go into a meditative state, you begin to have these spontaneous movements. And I just glazed over it at the time, and I thought, well, that's some weird yoga shit. I don't do yoga really anymore that much, and I don't do that meditative deep stuff. I don't understand why your body would be moving without you. And I just moved on. But the dark night of the soul stuff matched my experience to a T. So I felt that this author knew exactly what they were talking about. So fast forward to the few months, I actually began having Kundalini Kriyas. They were very wild. The first week or so, they were actually going through so much clearing. I'm not going to get into specifics on that now, but what I will do is talk about the destroyer energy and how it came along very fierce. Within a couple months, I developed not only the posturing in my Kriyas of something trying to move itself through the chakra system. So the neck and head went back and forth. I had dry heaving, stuff like that. Breathing that went back. I didn't know why it was doing this. It was not painful. It didn't feel bad, but it felt like a purging. And so I would go through an emotional Kriya where there would be tears or laughter. Sometimes I would be saying certain things that seemed to be about another lifetime, about fun or happiness or even pain. And then a dry heaving would come on. The first week or two was extremely intense. The destroyer energy came along eventually with vocal Kriyas. I have a Kriya video on YouTube that scared the shit out of people that I have not taken down, and I don't plan to because, and this is why I'm doing these videos as well, because it's important to see that this process of purging looks wild. It looks crazy, it looks fierce, and you're gonna be fine. Everybody's gonna be fine. So, coupled with my vocal Kriyas and the posturing of the destroyer, the vocal Kriyas really started to come on like they came on very strong like that. I still wasn't scared. Other people were, because of how it sounds, how it looks. They, of course, attribute it to the only thing that anybody's ever been taught about in this society, which is demonic possession or entities or all these videos, the movies that you see on TV, and automatically they say this person's possessed. With a Kriya, I can control it or not. So the mind structure can always override it if the person is grounded and used to doing it. At first, that may not be the case. So if you're having Kundalini Kriyas and they're difficult to control, don't worry. They're eventually going to merge. Anyways, so at first, a lot of the energy was very raw and looked very forceful and violent like that, and aggressive like that. It was sending tones and movement to the body to destroy the old molecular structure that was Angela Baird. So the DNA flips a switch that says this person wants to unravel their identity. The way it knows that is it can feel vibrationally, and the brain sends a signal that the soil is ripe for this level of human development and growth. And then it enlists this transformation to happen. So what I've gathered from the experience is that sounds and vibrations are sending commands to the cells to destroy or reinvigorate or nurture or whatever stage you're in. And it's also, my vocal kriyas seem to also be going with the stage of consciousness that the Kundalini is in. So originally there was a lot of really of that fierce sound that scares people. And then eventually it moved into other kriyas. I'm doing this all to show you that vocal kriyas you can become in and out of. In the past, people have thought of them as speaking tongues. I am not connecting with any specific divinity, and I'm not saying anything specific either. What I believe is happening is that the mind structure is being overrode. It's paying attention to the tones and the speed. So the organism is trying to match up to a higher vibration. It has lost its identity of the mind structure because language is learned, and then it's just opened up to this meditative state. I don't know the approximate time, maybe about 9 months into my awakening, I started having very childish like vocal kriyas, and I'm going to do a demonstration for you right now of that. And actually I'm in that stage right now, so I'm enjoying color and sparkles, and I feel very sensitive like a child in a lot of ways. And if I had my way about it, I would do this video and describe this wall to you in vocal kriyas. But I'm just going to show you how the childlike stage where it appears that I'm at now manifests itself through my being. So I would be like, so that's when it's in that childish stage. I really like to talk about my dog. That's my dog. So that appears to be the level of kind of rebirth that I'm at now after going more of the destructive phase. I very rarely have but when it comes on, it's okay. It's also a very grounding tonality. And the other reason is because I had been, what I figured out looking back, putting the pieces to the puzzle, is that I had been in my heart chakra for about 7 years. And in that, you often compromise your truth for other people's feelings and to be nurturing, and even your own feelings you compromise.
So when the truth starts to come up out of the chakra system and it has been over nurturing, there are feelings of anger. And what I've known from working with my experience, it's very in-depth. It absolutely requires mind, heart, body, and soul. The process of Kundalini awakening requires every facet of who you are. And what I have discovered is that you work closely with the emotions and what's going on in the physical organism. So anger was one of the emotions that I have the hardest time dealing with. I don't have a hard time necessarily expressing it just because I'm fairly articulate. So the problem is when I hold myself back and I hold myself back and I think it's wrong and that I don't have a right to speak my truth. And then we all know when we finally do get angry and it comes out in such a hurtful way to the other person or the other parties. And it's not an effective way of communicating. So posturing myself like this in a very grounded and strong way, I believe, and through the vocal kriyas, was a declaration that I have a right to be here. I have a right to my own journey. I have a right to take up space on this planet. I have a right to speak my truth. There were people in my life, there still are, that I really had to kind of hold back my journey for. Even strangers, as I put out my Kundalini Kriya videos, a lot of people try to tell me what I'm doing wrong, or that I'm lying, or this, that, or the other. And so there needs to be a confidence of a healthy ego that says, I have a right to become the being of my highest good, whether you recognize it or not. And what I'm doing there is very hard for a person who mostly lived in their nurturing centers. So anyways, the Kundalini Kriyas begin to clear out the chakra system. As it releases from the base of the spine and it moves through the sacral and the solar plexus, one of the first Kundalini Kriyas that most people get is a kicking in their stomach like this. I actually had this Kriya throughout different parts of my life, especially when I underwent really bad vertigo. Vertigo also was a manifestation of the Kundalini doing work in the brain to rewire. So when we rewire the brain from duality, which is this right, wrong, good and bad, our judgment, which is what the mind does, and the brain rewires towards unity consciousness, which is that we are the clay, and every experience we went through was meant to submit us to a new aspect of our being, and that this is a process along the path. When the brain rewires, it sends a command that the soil is right for this. And the body, the organism itself, begins to break down that molecular structure. The Kundalini energy rising up shakes through the whole entire spine and through the head. So the neck one is Kundalini energy moving through there. The neck will do this. The solar plexus will buck down like this. The throat is the vocal kriyas, and then the energy swirling in the mind, in the brain, is aspects of crown, of the energy moving through crown as the brain does work in rewiring. And it will move up and down that chakra circuit. And I missed third eye, which is where you can see light bursts and maybe different visual things and stuff like that. Some people have more activity in each one of the chakras depending where they're going to land. In all likelihood, or where they're going to, kind of stabilize. In all likelihood, I'll stabilize mostly in my throat. I'm talking really fast because there's so much information to go over. Right now, what I want to do is talk a little bit about my wall and some of the things that how they attribute to my experience, and I'll talk more about Kundalini awakening a lot in the future. I plan to do a lot more videos. I'm 15 months into full-blown Kundalini awakening, 2 years prep before that, and did have manifestations of Kundalini awakening throughout my entire life. So let me just go over a few things about my wall. So on the left side, I wrote the words destroy, break it down. I did later learn that is what needs to happen in a transformation. We've accumulated all these things throughout our lives about what we were or were not, and now it needs to be wiped. No soul to sell. is the name of my book. It said, Tame the Monster, Make the Mutant. The monster was the ego self. The mutant is the half-breed, the divinity self and the human self. It said, destroy. Just destroy the old self, strip it away, and create. So that's what's happening in the chakra system. I've heard it described as like a mop wringing something out. So the structure that comprised who Angela is now breaking down, and the dry heaving and the pushing through the solar plexus and stuff is almost like the chakra system, the subtle channels have been destroyed, and now the body is pushing it out. The dry heaving, and also I went through fluish-like symptoms, temperature, and the other way that stuff gets expelled when the body is trying to push something out. I didn't go through a juice fast or a juice purge. The body invoked it to happen on its own. So this side says destroy, break it down. And on the other side, I wrote create, build it up. The cool thing about the create side is that you don't have to invoke it. It's natural, just as a baby. We don't choose a baby's eye color or hair color or their personality, but we just see this new being come out of two people, and it's a miracle. It's just a freaking miracle. We live miracles every day. And so as the new being, after the destroy is the hard part. That's where it takes what I wrote here, which is concentrated power of will. That is our command center saying, I want to climb this mountain. I want to meet up with divinity. I want to know who I am while I'm in this human organism. I'm ready. Show me who I am. Eventually, you climb that mountaintop and you meet the vibration of higher self. And then your job is to surrender to divine will. So it goes from that force, that brute raw force of personal will, to finally, I've arrived at a summit, and whatever your term for God is, has met you there and said, come on, I'll take you the rest of the way. Very cool. And then it's just a matter of surrender. It'll still take bravery, but by then, the spirit, the soul self is really overriding the mental structure, and you're okay with being crazy in a societal sense or an unconventional sense, because you realize you've been crazy your whole life not knowing who you are. You've been crazy not knowing what you were in spirit before you came here or where you're going after. We've been crazy our whole life. Let's get sane and let's have fun doing it. So there does come a point where the journey becomes really beautiful. Because I'm a full Kundalini awakening can take really an entire lifetime, but past works have said that it takes no less than 7 years. Experienced people are now saying that it can go a lot faster because people are having spontaneous awakenings. They're popping off like crazy because the human evolution is moving so fast that we can come out of our survival chakras now. We can come out of those lower things, and we can begin to come out of the competitive side, and we can nurture and love and enjoy each other's gifts and not have to fight for survival, not on an ego level anymore and not on an emotional level. Let's get back to the wall a little bit while we're here. So you might have to zoom in on this a little bit. What I did here is I put these logs of fear, doubt, guilt, hurt, pain, and lack, and it went up in smoke. And it went, and in that I wrote the words faith and abundance, fulfillment, insight, guidance, truth, love, satisfaction, inspiration, surrender. And it says send out the smoke signal, meaning these logs were they were disconnected from one another. As they came up in smoke, they reached a level of expansion. So if you can imagine our defense mechanism that says, it's tight, it's compact, it says, no, ouchie, ouch, don't hurt me, I'm afraid. Okay, that's where a lot of us are operating from in our consciousness, in our ego mechanism.
Now imagine something that's more like how I described Scrappy earlier, that says, I'm not scared, I'm expanded, I'm ready, I'm a part of you, you're a part of me. Let's enjoy this wild-ass ride on this planet Earth, being a human being. Let's not be scared of whatever comes our way, whether that emotion be fear or pain, whatever comes through. Let's find our center, you know? So it's an expanded state. It's becoming one with everything. And I know that sounds very hippie-ish, but call me a hippie if you want. What else do we have here? Right here, I didn't write the word sacrifice, but I depicted it in a picture on my calendar. And but the word here, okay, I'm bringing out my laziness here. The word here should be sacrifice. And it just depicted it in this picture. There's a meme on Facebook right now that says, your new life is going to cost you one thing, your old life. And that's true in the emotional, spiritual sense of it, and true with the organism. The old organism is rebirthing while you are alive, while you're having this transformation. This is not witchcraft, this is not voodoo, this is not demon, entity, spirit shit, so you don't get to sacrifice someone else. You only get to sacrifice yourself if you're ready, willing, and able. This is a quote actually from 50 Cent, the rapper, that says, God is the seamstress that tailor-fitted my pain. This is from, I had two brothers with muscular dystrophy. They both passed away in their 20s. Amazing spirits, incredibly amazing spirits. As I put the pieces to the puzzle of my own life, I really got to see what they were for me and the beauty of the sacrifices that they made to be in the position that they were throughout life, and the amazing caregivers that came into my life as well as a result of that. Beautiful stuff. Anyways, here is a quote from my favorite movie, Kung Fu Panda, that says, we are not trying to stop you, we are coming with you. And what that signifies to me, the reason I wrote that, is that everybody that's putting up a resistance, sometimes our loved ones are the ones that seem to doubt us the most, have the most resistance towards change, because they want to keep up, they have their own fears and they project them onto us. I've seen it in my YouTube videos, I've seen it in my friends and family. They're scared of the process for themselves, and so they say, don't you do that. No, what makes you think you can? Do you think you're this? Do you think you're that? And they'll use whatever tool they have, because that's their own self-talk. And so when you can override that, eventually, not through fakeness, not through talking about it, not through reading about it, but actually experience the feelings of understanding that people are judging you or speaking to you in a way of lack, because that's their own self-voice. And the great prophets of our past, such as Jesus, were able to actually, be in touch with God, to unify their divine self. I and the Father are one, with their earth self, and then use that information to spread non-judgment and love and forgiveness and peace to an entire people. Eventually people started fighting for it, and actually it regressed because they spoke about it, they intellectualized it, they conceptualized it, and they used it for judgment. They didn't use it for what the prophets and Jesus used it for. So to truly experience that transcendence after so much purging and feeling and hurt and not understanding why people hurt each other so much, it's not describable in human language. And so maybe that's why I have vocal cords too. It's not describable. It transcends. But I'm here doing the best I can to speak. This is purpose. Early within the first year of me writing the book, some reason it came to me to write, it will help, it will heal, it will inspire, motivate, reinvigorate, empower. It will not be conventional. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know I was having a Kundalini awakening. When I asked the forces that be, what am I supposed to do for my life? Because I had begged for my purpose almost my whole life. I've been a goof-off, but I've been very serious in my heart about wanting to know what I was doing on this planet. And when I asked the forces that be, I said, what am I going to be? You know, am I going to be a freaking singer or a dancer or a writer or a fitness competitor? And I tried all these things, or an occupational therapist assistant. What am I going to be? And something wrote back in my journaling, higher self wrote back in my journaling, something is going to happen to you that will be brand spanking new. And then I understood, and I thought, well, what the hell position or thing am I going to become on this planet that I don't even know exists? And I mean, I was 31, 32 at the time of writing that, and I'm going, what in the hell could that be? This here is a quote from the healer in my book, in which he says he's a heart-hunting, mind-seeking, soul-searching maniac. I love that because it's just the beauty of being a human and saying, hey, I'm here and I want to know what's going on. And if I got to seek, if I have to adventure, if I have to come flying in at the end of life and going, holy shit, what a ride was that? Then great, fine, perfect. That's what we came here for. It was answering to that adventure self. Here is where I wrote, the beast gets a leash. And I put this lion because in my third eye I saw lions, which are symbolic of courage and loyalty and love and raw power. And the reason that I said that it gets a leash and put all these great characteristics, just like over there, is because I knew that the divine spirit is just, it comes up so raw and wild and powerful for this single human organism to handle. And so being able to ground and stabilize that energy is an important, absolutely necessary thing in a Kundalini awakening when the person wants to come and be, after their awakening, some people get stuck in their kind of crown area where they're very disconnected from life. They are left for a while sometimes in a state of hopelessness or despair. And they're not able to come back and find that purpose and repurpose their life and reconstruct it. So I knew that it was essential to maintain that lower chakra grounding. I am on Earth. I belong on this planet, along with those higher qualities, and go ahead and explore what else I am besides Angela, but safely and at a good pace. So it comes up a little bit, it stabilizes. Come up a little bit, stabilize, etc. Here, aim your fire. I heard that my good friend, who was very intuitive, named Barb Wilson, told me that at a writer's conference, and she said, what you're trying to do, Angela, is aim your fire, which means there's this raw passion, and grounding it and targeting it as we get to a certain state in our life is going to be the name of the game. And she helped me put in words what I was trying to do. My good friend LT, he made a drawing here that I actually put words with wood, and it's actually a drawing of a picture of me becoming a tree trunk. And that was also to help me ground and have that stable, secure structure that I am going to remain 2 feet on this planet while I try to get the arms up in the sky. He also made this beautiful drawing of me, which is one hand in the book, it grounded in the earth realm, and the other hand up to the sky, which is also just to depict the unifying forces of divinity and humanity. Throughout my journey, many people these last couple of years who were just such a pivotal part of my journey started giving me things, just little things. I'm not material at all. And they didn't know, but I was placing them all on my wall. So my friend LT did that. My friend Jen did one that had to do with metamorphosis, a painting. My friend Amanda, who is the only person I know in Las Vegas that is my friend in real life, gave me these stones and also this gorgeous journal. She gave me, which, man, oh, God. Well, okay, I don't want to get too sentimental, but she gave me that. My friend Meg gave me this little book, this glitter pen, and also the Queen of Spades on the other side, which you can look up information about what that signifies. She was an important part of my journey. She wrote a book as well. My partner for Christmas gave me this amazing new journal with the note that wishing and hoping and casting the hope out into the universe that hopefully my dark nights and my die-offs have come to the hardest part, and that the purges had moved through, as I would say, the hard labor. And that, you know, some of the die-off feelings of despair and hopelessness, which if you're going through a Kundalini awakening, you know that everything needs to clear out, and for a moment, as a new life, you're just standing there going, okay, I'm not Angela, but what am I now? So he gave me this and said that this, with the well wish, that this would be where I put all my writing, where it's processed and basically colorful and beautiful, and that some good can come of it for me, for other people, and that the hardest part of the labor is over. My Aunt Wanda gave me these beads from my great-grandmother, who was spiritual, and she told me some about her kingship with nature and spirituality. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody that gave me anything, because I want to really commemorate everybody. They don't know yet. They have no idea how much they mean to me, and how much all of you. I'll just speak to you now. All of you, even the ones that don't know me, you have no idea what you mean to me, and I'm happy to be on this journey with you. And I pray for us to be able to diffuse the things that are causing pain and hurt and fear and war and violence in our life, and to be brave enough to surrender to our highest self and continue on this path and this journey, and to encourage one another, to lift each other up, to heal, to not be afraid of whatever it takes to heal. We think in this life that we are strong because we repress our emotions and we don't show it, and we keep on a tough face and we say, I got this. But I'm telling you right now, that is not strength. That is repression. It's a form of weakness. It takes incredible strength to be vulnerable and real, and I pray that this world gets that and gets their healing. And I want anybody listening to this to know that I love you. I feel connected to you. There are parts of this journey, through my friendship, through my social media, where people have said things to me that rescued me from a very deep abyss in my dark nights. And I felt this energy of a team of people saying, go, Angela, keep going, you got this. And I know it was you guys. We're all rooting each other on here. And we didn't pick an easy path, and we didn't want an easy path. We wanted to rejoice in our labor. We wanted to feel both ends of the extreme. We wanted to know what it felt like to be desolate and afraid, and what it felt like to be a vital, happy, fulfilled, whole, encouraging, inspiring, peaceful force. We wanted that. But we only need to experience that one for a little while. And sometimes it's harder to do the rough labor. Sorry, I'm getting cut up in my words. The rough labor is once. The things you're afraid to look at, you just have to look at them once and say, okay, what do you want from me? What are you here to teach me? I'm ready to face it. We run to get ready to fight. So we flight until we get ready to fight and turn around and say, I'm ready to answer to every lesson. And so I wish everybody strength, courage, peace, resilience, and the most important thing, faith, trust, and surrender in all your journeys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Mwah.